we're just going to do this kind of like a hangout on the fly, looking some stuff up because, we use a lot of technology in the work that we do. We're doing a lot of research. We're looking up things. We use a lot of apps. And Aubrey actually went to school for
Cybersecurity.
and so you learned about some computer programming and stuff.
I did.
I see some people in the chat saying, "What's up? Hello, hello, everybody! Thank you for being here tonight, guys, at this late live, 10:30." So this kind of came up because somebody informed me of something that I didn't know about. They said, "Did you know that in Hebrew the word AI means destruction?" I was like, I gotta fact check this, man, because this just sounds too out there. I already heard about that. The Bible actually talks about AI. There's a king of AI, and I'm like, okay, it could be a stretch that this town, this city, just happens to be spelled AI, but in Hebrew, the word AI means destruction or ruin. Look at this. Yes, in Hebrew, the word AI literally means the ruin or the heap of ruins. It is the name of an ancient Canaanite city. Okay, wow. Okay, so it is the city. So there is a king of AI, which means the king of the ruin. So crazy. And so then I remembered, I was like, wait a minute. I actually remember when Facebook started changing their branding to Meta, that I was hearing that Meta was like Greek for death or something. So I looked that up.
Yeah.
Does the word meta mean death? In English and Greek, and English, I didn't know it was English too. English and Greek, the word meta does not mean death. Oh, wait a minute. It is a Greek prefix meaning beyond, after, higher, as in metaphysics or data about data. However, it sounds identical to meta, the feminine form of the Hebrew word for dead. Okay,
Right.
so.
And I will add real quick. I have it on my screen right now. I've looked it up a little differently. It doesn't just say Hebrew for dead, but a dead person.
Wow.
It also says in the English, metaverse, a universe beyond the ordinary universe.
Interesting.
We'll see more later as to why I'm very specific about what I'm saying.
Yeah, because like when we mess around with meta, like the meta goggles, you're going into another universe, another realm. And even Facebook and all this stuff, it's like you're going into another realm, metaphysics. So I decided to use ChatGPT to ask, what are some things, are there other programs out there that have to have these like pagan names or some kind of link to Satanism or the occult or things like that? And I gave it some examples that I know of. And I said, Apple's logo represents the forbidden fruit. These are things that I gave it. It's trying to assess it and make sure that this is like, it's fact checking. Look, let's fact check this first. The forbidden fruit. We know the Apple logo is a apple with a bite taken out of it. I'm just going to look up stuff as we go here. The Apple logo. What does this make you think of? The tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Now, it totally makes sense, that a computer, something that brings knowledge to the world, would use this logo that represents knowledge. But it's super satanic because that tree was a tree of death, and Satan convinced Adam and Eve to eat from that tree. And so that was one of them. The first machine cost $666.66. And we can look that one up. Apple's first computer cost. If you guys didn't know this, 666.66. Boom, right here. Apple's first computer, the Apple One, went on sale in July 1976 for $666. 666, guys. Co-founder Steve Wozniak chose the price because he liked repeating digits. Had nothing to do with the occult or the mark of the beast. Come on, man. It's just because he likes repeating digits, and he just happened to pick 6 for his computer that represents the knowledge of good and evil with a bit apple for a logo. It's all just coincidence, guys. Like, it's just insane that we don't look into this stuff, we've been talking about this kind of stuff for years between this channel and Little Light Studios, and we're talking about all these occultic symbolisms that are in movies and in logos and things like that, and it always gets chalked up as something else. Like, well, it's just, he likes repeating numbers or whatever. Like, why do you use the apple? You see right here, the original logo is what's that guy's name? Newton, Isaac Newton. Was that him?
Under the tree and the apple falls.
Yeah, the dude who invented gravity or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that's what they say. And the bite taken out of it is a little play on words, like a byte, like a computer, BYTE, right? So these are all the little things they say. The Apple advertisement. So yeah, if you ever had a doubt, all right, look, the apple is the bit apple, like the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil. It costs 666 cents. Now, can we prove that this is the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? Well, why don't we just look up one of their advertisements, Apple's advertisement right here from 1979, and let's see, let me look up Adam tree. Check that. Look. Oh, coincidence? All right. So if you ever had a doubt or believe the mainstream narrative that no, that bit apple has nothing to do with the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, just look it up. I mean, this is a full page ad in a magazine. It says, we're looking for the most original use for an apple since Adam. Wait, Adam had an original use for an apple? Why? Because he bit it and it gave him knowledge? Like, they're trying to get rid of the idea that the apple was, or the fruit was sin, that it was disobedience to God. It was listening to Satan, taking a bite out of that because he told them that you will be like God and you'll have knowledge, your eyes will be open. And they literally put it in their advertisement. So to just lie, to make up these excuses is pure ignorance. The web. So when we get on the web, it's called the web, World Wide Web. It's called the net, the internet. I think it's interesting and coincidental and ironic that this thing that we all get trapped in, that we all spend so much time in, that we get lost in, is called a web that catches prey, a net that you catch prey in. But of course, they're going to say, no, it's called a web because it's like a network. Okay, what's a web got to do with network? A World Wide Web. And I get it. Net is short for internet or network. Internet is network. But web, what? So it's trying to act like a spider's web. Okay, a spider's web, exactly what I'm talking about. www. So World Wide Web, www. When you look up the Hebrew, what is the Hebrew numerical value of the letter W? The Hebrew numerical value of the letter corresponding to W, the letter Vav or Wow, is 6. So let me get this straight. So every time we go to a website to get knowledge on our Apple computer that costs $666, we type www, which is literally Hebrew for 666. That's what we type. We type 666 to get to the information or the knowledge of good and evil. How are we going to use this knowledge, for good or for evil?
Which is the mark of a man.
Yes, the number of a man.
And so it's like, I hate to say this, but how stupid are we that we're just getting all of our knowledge from a man? Do you know what I mean? It's going to come to destruction, which brings me back to the AI.
Oh, yeah.
Because if that means destruction and being dead, you can't get anywhere.
Death, meta, death, AI, destruction, www 666.
And there's a reason for that. I know deeper why. We're going to get into that.
Yeah, this goes. So this is not just trying to make something out of nothing, out of the logos. This goes to the creators of these things. This is the research that Aubrey did, was really digging up who are these people? What were they into? And it gets very interesting. We haven't even got into some of these logos yet. Right now, we're just covering the simple things that I asked it about, like an installation wizard. So not only do you get on your Apple computer that's represented with a bite taken out of an apple that cost $666, whose advertisement showed Adam, and you type 666, or I mean www, to get to the knowledge. Now you're going to download an app, and how are you going to install that app? Well, you have to use your installation wizard. Your wizard, which the Bible talks about, is sorcery, necromancy. Wizards will not inherit the kingdom of heaven. This was an abomination to the Lord, that sorcerers, wizards, witches were to be stoned to death. And for some reason, we hear, oh, an installation wizard. We don't even think about the magic aspect, the sorcery aspect of that, but we use a installation wizard. I want to look up a picture of that. Let's see, installation wizard logo. Oh yeah, here we go. Installation wizard. So every time we use an app, we have to install it with an installation wizard. Interesting. Then Python. This was crazy.
I have more conclusive evidence on Python, though.
Okay.
We can get into that in a second.
So I mentioned Python's a snake. There was a snake in the garden that convinced Adam and Eve to eat the apple with the bite taken out of it. And it goes, oh, incorrect. Guido van Rossum named Python after the comedy program Monty Python's Flying Circus. Okay, if it was really named after Monty Python, wouldn't you make your logo something related to Monty Python, right? If your logo, if your company is named Python because of Monty Python, a comedy, why would you make your logo look like this? Let's see. Python program logo. Why would your logo literally be two snakes? I mean, come on, you cannot keep making excuse. Monty Python, wouldn't it be a clown or a knight or something? Why is it literally snakes? Because it is based on a snake, and this is all just a cover story. Java Duke logo. Now, Java's logo, I remember seeing this as a teenager in high school, and I thought this because I was into this stuff. I was into the Ouija boards. The Java Duke logo looks like a Ouija board oracle. Now it says incorrect. This is ChatGPT with its bias spin on things. Incorrect. Duke is Java's official mascot, of course. But Oracle's history, notice the name Oracle. Oracle created Java. What is an oracle? We're going to get into that. Remember that, though. Oracle created Java. But Oracle's history identifies him as a character created for the Star 7 interface, a visual software agent that helped users perform tasks. There is no documented Ouija board identity. That's what they say. So he's just some generic character. He's just a mascot that happens to look like this. Look, he just happens to look like this, guys. And what does a Ouija board look like? What does a Ouija board oracle look like? This is an oracle.
It says it right there.
Yeah, magnifying oracle. Mystifying oracle. This is an oracle. Now the company's name is Oracle, and the reason that this is called an oracle is because an oracle is a pagan prophet. Like, define pagan oracle.
More like a soothsayer.
Look at this. A pagan oracle is a person, shrine, or divine message associated with polytheistic pagan religions. It acts as a direct channel where a god speaks to humans, meaning channeling. This is a prophet, basically. People visit an oracle to ask important questions about the future, war, or personal choices. A medium, a priest, priestess, or shaman who goes into a trance and speaks for the god. And look at this, Oracle of Delphi. Isn't that interesting? Because Delphi is a company that we're going to get into. Oracle and Delphi. So isn't it interesting that this company uses this logo and you're supposed to ask it questions and get answers because it talks to the gods. And now we're literally doing this stuff with AI. Like, I don't jump on the bandwagon of AI's demons. Like, all of AI is demonic. I don't go that far. I do believe that anything can be used to be a medium between us and the spirit world. So there's no power in a piece of cardboard from Milton Bradley. But when you pull out a Ouija board and you put that oracle on there and you openly tell your intentions and you say, "Okay, spirits, I want to hear from you," then Satan says, "All right, I have access. That is a door for me. I know what that board is for. They're openly saying what they want, and I'm going to talk to them, and I'm going to pretend to be a dead loved one, and I'm going to deceive them because they open the door." Now, AI is a very amazing software programs that can search through all the information in the world and gather information, and it can create an image, it can give you information, it can make videos, it can make music, but it will ultimately be used for evil, just like everything. Technology ultimately always gets used for evil. You can make a knife and cut some bread, or you can kill somebody with it. So these are tools. If we were afraid of technology as Christians, then we would not have radio programs. We'd be like, nope, nope. The Bible has to be in the pages of the Bible alone. We can't go on the radio. We can't go on TV. We can't go on the internet. That's all demonic. We need to be a competitor versus all the AI slop and all the satanic junk out there. We're going to get left in the dust if we don't use these tools that the world is using. They're pumping out videos and music and everything faster than, in a moments, in mere minutes, pump out a song that takes somebody months to make. I got to get a band and get a production studio and all this stuff.
I know it sounds probably a bit extreme, but it's kind of like being afraid of all stone because idols are made out of stone.
Yeah, that's a good example, actually. Like, yeah, this material makes idols, so I can't use it. That was kind of a rabbit trail, but look, Java Duke is a Ouija board oracle. I just want to take a quick moment to see if there's anything going on in the chat. Okay, programmers. Somebody says, yeah, it does. It looks like a gnome. Somebody says programmers writing spells from beyond the veil. Sure, sounds correct to me. And then there's Chrome, adrenochrome. Yeah, more than just that, there's definitely a connection to that. But the Chrome logo, and I'm glad you reminded me because I wanted to bring this up. The Chrome logo is 666. There's 3 6s embedded in this logo. That is not a coincidence. Like, how many times can we keep calling all this a coincidence, right? We already found out 666 is the price of the computer. 666 is www. Now 666 is the very browser that you use to browse the 666 www, right? So you cannot chalk this all up as just coincidence. Thank you for reminding me about that because I didn't have it in here. So there's also an AI software called Hermes, which I just got introduced to. And this is kind of what triggered me too. I was like, Hermes is a Greek god, a divine messenger. He's the god of, he's the protector of liars, merchants, thieves, gamblers, and he's the guide of the dead. And he holds a staff that's a caduceus, which is the 2 serpents around a staff with the wings. And that's the hospital logo that we see. So we're trusting this corporation that has this symbol that is literally telling you that they're the guide of the dead, the protector of liars, merchants, thieves, and gamblers.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting that most people that go there stay sick, unless you're part of the elite, is what I think. I think if you flash a little Masonic ring or something, I used to park cars at a hospital. And so I started to notice, this was around the time I started waking up, and I started noticing how many cars had this little metal seal on the back, and it had this double-headed eagle wings with a number 32 or 33 on it. I was already knowing what this was because God was waking me up at that time. So I started seeing these 33-degree Freemasons that I was parking their cars, and I was like, do these people get special treatment in this hospital? Are they getting like different kinds of medicine than your average person? I don't know, possibly. Um, so ChatGPT is telling me like the strongest points. So remember Delphi, we just saw that Oracle Delphi. We looked up that an oracle is a pagan prophet, right? A pagan seer of the future. Well, Delphi, what is Delphi? Do you know what Delphi is, babe?
Mm-mm. I haven't had to use it.
So Delphi is this client server thing. Look, 1983, that was the year I was born. 1983 to 1995. But Delphi, check this out. What is the, I guess who is the pagan Delphi? The phrase pagan Delphi typically refers to the Oracle of Delphi, the Pythia from ancient Greek pagan religion, or to a controversial legal defense theory. I'm not sure that is. But basically,
Wait. Go back. Involving Norse paganism or Odinism.
okay, so Delphi is a Norse god. And so we have this company literally called Delphi. So that was one of the first ones that ChatGPT mentions. Then we got Oracle, which we just looked into that.
I have a few.
You have a few what?
I have a few things. If you.
These are the companies?
Yeah, you have your list. I have my list.
Okay, here's this. Here's your list, right?
No.
Oh,
I'm selecting things to write. To
oh, okay.
on. So I have Cassandra. I know it sounds so mainstream, but that is actually a
let's look it up.
A database that we use today, and it possesses prophetic knowledge but is not believed. Her name is used for a database designed to remain available despite failures. There you go.
So
Cassandra.
This is a program, right?
Yeah, it is.
Okay. So here we go. Look, the all-seeing eye. Are you kidding me? Look at this. That is their logo, guys. A symbol of the sun and an all-seeing eye.
Well, there's something else to this. It says a system entrusted with information and prediction-like retrieval.
Okay, so this is a pagan or something? Pagan definition, Cassandra. In mythology and literature, Cassandra is a Trojan princess and priestess of Apollo. Wow. Who was gifted the gift of true prophecy. Are you guys putting this together? Oracle, pagan prophet. Cassandra, pagan prophet. Literally the oracle of a Ouija board is the symbol for Java, which is about getting the future. Mm-hmm. The apple was about knowledge of becoming like God, having your eyes open. Like, this is crazy.
All right, so we have a few
Python.
Others.
Okay.
We have the Phoenix.
Phoenix, is that a program?
It is. It is applied Phoenix. To a system involving recovery, reconstruction, restarting, and rebirth. This is, you need to Phoenix type program. In computers. I don't think it.
Most commonly, Phoenix computer program?
Yeah.
Okay. Phoenix computer program can refer to several different platforms.
Yeah, the Phoenix framework.
Oh, okay.
Oh, don't.
Whoops. That is not what I meant to do.
And then,
I see the logo. Here we go,
can you?
right? This is it? Phoenix Software International?
No, that's a. It's a good example from what they're showing, but it's. I think it's something else that we're looking for.
Okay.
Okay, so can you go back up, please? See the drop down arrow? It's actually three things
Cloud-based
here.
AI
That's
development?
right. And then,
Phoenix New.
yeah,
Dot new.
it it actually rebirths
Oh, wow.
virtual machines. And I've done this before. You can launch several machines at one time to take on different tasks, and it's incredible. But it's seriously like birthing something. It just you can recreate and construct all kinds of things.
Wow. And if you don't know what the phoenix is, this is a very Gnostic symbol. It's the same representation as the serpent biting its tail,
Mm-hmm.
death and rebirth. It's the whole evolution, reincarnation type thing going on.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a very occultic symbol.
So
What
I'll
else? Yeah.
just. Do you have more?
Yeah, I got more, but what do you got?
I'm just gonna finish up real quick
Okay.
because it's kind of just a rundown. We have Apollo, we have Atlas, we have Titan, and we have Olympus. All those names are used as well for programs.
Wow. And you
And
have the Apollo programs. I mean, the Apollo missions, this isn't just computers. This is everything that we consider like scientific discoveries of our life, things that we think are like advancing civilization, all have to do with paganism. Going to the moon missions and all this stuff. Apollo, what was the one that we just had?
Artemis.
Artemis. Yeah, all these are literally pagan gods, and
So
we're cheering it on.
what I found is that technology names its systems after the entire mythological cosmos. So you have heavenly rulers, underworld guardians, prophets, stolen fire. I'm not sure what that is exactly, but reincarnation,
I know it.
messengers, world builders, and beings who cross boundaries between realms as
Wow.
well.
So stolen fires has to do with, for one, Lucifer's the light bearer. He's got the torch, but fire is supposed to have been like the first invention. Like it's
Mm. Okay.
yeah, like before there was ever the wheel or whatever, fire, and it just goes back to knowledge. Like evolution and all that stuff.
Okay.
So that was all of them you had.
Yeah, I have. I'll let you finish your list.
Okay, so here we have Prometheus. What is Prometheus? A monitoring platform with the Greek Titan who stole fire. Wait a minute, you just said this.
Yeah,
You didn't even say that though, did
I
you?
did not.
So Prometheus, the same thing. The Titan who stole fire. Look at the logo. It's a flaming torch. You can see it up here. That's the logo. So this is insane. How many of these things are literally using pagan gods,
So this is for
paganism?
metrics and monitoring. It says basically governance and taking statistics. That's what it said at the bottom. It keeps highlighting governance as well.
Oh my goodness. Are you kidding me? We're going to be governed by Prometheus. Look at this. Wow. The torch. The flaming torch of Lucifer. You also see this at the Statue of Liberty. Like, this is everywhere, guys. All right. Sorry, I lost the tabs. Okay. Prometheus. I don't know what Grafana Loki is, but I know Loki is a Norse trickster god. What is this? It's a widely used log aggregation. Oh, if you don't know what Python is, because I didn't, Python is used to create programs and websites and everything. So
It's like actually there's a better definition. I hate to say that, but it's kind of like the language that's taking over all other languages.
whoa.
You no longer need any of the other languages really.
So
You just speak Python, computer language,
oh my
and it
goodness.
creates.
Just hearing you say that, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, we're going to get rid of all the languages, all these other languages. We're just going to speak snake.
Right.
We're going to speak Python
And it
now.
was true. When I went to school, that was the only thing required of me, and it was so easy.
Wow. Wow. This is crazy. So yeah, here's Apollo graph. This is probably the one you were talking about. Apollo. Janus. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness. Janus is also a pagan god or goddess. I'm not even sure if it's male or female. But let's see. Who is pagan Janus? Janus
Oh,
is a
two-headed.
ancient Roman Janus myth, meaning in facts, Britannica, god of beginnings, gates. Oh, goody. Gates, right? Transitions, time, and endings. Endings. I mean,
This would be those
wow.
archways in a way.
Yeah. So we've talked about on this channel
Doorways.
doorways and
I
gates.
was
Check
right.
this out. Yeah. Right here. The god of thresholds. He rules over doorways, gates, and physical or metaphorical passages from one place or state to another. So,
Which, I'm sorry.
no, you go ahead.
But Trump put that arch up, right?
Yep.
Yeah. That's one of those.
That is, when you look up archways, what is the significance, the pagan significance of archways? We have them all over the world, and it says they're literally portals for spiritual beings to enter into our world. Now, this thing is saying this Janus program is talking about, well, it's named after a god of doorways, gates, a physical metaphor. So we're entering into the metaverse or whatever, right? The virtual world. This
Okay.
is a gateway.
I can't let this go unsaid because it says down here in First in Prayers,
Wow.
it says, because he controlled all transitions and gateways, the Romans invoked Janus first during religious ceremonies and public sacrifices, viewing him as the doorkeeper of heaven.
Heaven. I want you to notice what he looks like, by the way. This is a god with horns on his head. I mean, this is. I know Satan doesn't really have horns and stuff, but come on. I don't want to worship any god that looks like a goat. All right. And look at all these sixes in his beard. Literally 666 everywhere in his beard. Crazy, man. Let's get back to the chat. So Janus, that is, it says the project's own explanation. So they tell you on their website, like, this is the real website, and you look up what is Janus, open source, blah blah blah. Does it say like where they get their name from? Why call Janus that, like that? Yeah, depicting having, yeah, here we go. He's depicted as having two faces. See?
With one face he looks into the future and one to the past.
In ancient Roman myth, Janus is a god of beginnings and transitions. Everything's about transitions right now. We're entering to the age of Aquarius and the golden age, all that stuff. Thereby gates, doors, passages, endings, and time. Endings. I mean, AI means ruin. Mm-hmm. I just think it's crazy. And this program is the god of endings. So there's Janus. So Amazon has something called Athena, Neptune, and Aurora.
I've used them all.
Okay, I was going to say, I don't know what any of that is, but I know who they are in paganism. Athena, Neptune. I mean, if anybody's even watched stuff like on Marvel, they're talking about these people.
Basically, when you use Amazon services for doing cybersecurity and cloud service stuff, it's a collection of other programs like Amazon Athena, Amazon Kubernetes, Amazon Apollo, and these things that you use each one for a specific task that you have to carry out.
Interesting. I know that's like bar graph or something, but it looks like where Athena is, a temple with the pillars all the way around. That's not a coincidence. That's not. These people that make these logos are very intelligent. They're very creative with how they probably even admit it. They say, oh, Athena is in a temple with pillars all around, so we thought, how cool, a bar graph that looks like the temple. They love mixing logos together. I see it all the time where you can see two different logos in one. The underworld, demons and hell imagery. Okay, so is this like another category or something?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, this is another category. So we got Kerberos. I don't know what that is. MIT's
It's,
authentication. You know it?
I hate to say it, but it is amazing.
Amazing program.
Yeah. I didn't know what its meaning was at all when it comes to paganism, but it is definitely used again to deploy multiple instances of virtual bots that go accomplish a task when certain things are done. So it's like, if this happens, then deploy 10 new
Oh,
instances.
that's the logo for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely. I mean, if you've ever played the game God of War, which I did way back in the day, this was one of the dogs, and that's what it says here. I think
The hounds.
the
Yeah.
three-headed hound guarding the entrance to the Greek underworld, so hell, basically. We got this one tripped me out. Lucifer. There's actually a program by IBM called Lucifer. Where is it at? I have it pulled up here. Look at this. Lucifer. It's right there. This is IBM. This is IBM's official website. Check this out. IBM.com/history/data security privacy. Oh, let's talk about our history here. Well, we did have something called Lucifer. That was a really interesting program.
So I have something to throw in the mix.
Lucifer encryption. Look at this.
Yeah.
First, this guy right here. Horst Feistel, inventor of the cryptographic algorithm Lucifer, which led to development of the ATM. Interesting. Okay, so what do you got to add to it, babe?
So some people might think I'm really stretching, but I have come to know that the use of the internet is actually a way of you voluntarily signing up to be monitored.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So when we talked about the mark of a man being 666 and other things, that's also the sign of the Antichrist.
Well, yeah, the mark of the system of the beast is all about. Okay.
So we usually know that they are recording things. They are taking down your statistics. We're talking about systems that do all these things. And then they're sent to a computer that actually records all these things religiously as well. Files on you and everything. Yeah. And it's said that the Vatican has archives like that. It's the major computer that is doing all this. And if you want to look into that more yourself, that's fine. But that is, when you really do look through the mark of the beast and whose mark that is.
We have a video on it.
Yeah, we do a video on that. You should watch it. But you do find out that that is, in fact, the mark of the Pope. He wears 666 over and over again.
Yep.
And so it's amazing to see 666 and the mark of the beast or the Antichrist, same thing, be shown up. It's showing up in all of these things over and over again, but that it biblically is him.
Satan cannot be omnipresent. He wants to be like God. He can't be omnipresent.
Right.
So how can he enforce the mark of the beast? This is his ultimate goal. His ultimate goal is to create this whole beast system where he can control and see and everything and kill anyone that doesn't worship according to his way. That's right. How can he do it? He has to use technology. It's the only way he can do it.
But when we get to heaven and it's judgment day, let's say, judgment seat, everything is occurring, and all of a sudden he stands in front of the Father and Jesus and he goes, look, they used my programs that has 666.
Mm-hmm.
They bear my sign basically of 666. Yep. Their seal is upon them.
They wouldn't go
all these
anywhere
things.
Without their little...
Right. And they used me every time they needed information, right? He's going to claim that he has legal rights over us for even that. And it's not true, but it's like he's coming up with trivial ways of actually trying to put his mark on everybody.
Exactly right.
So that he can claim that on the day that we're judged.
Yeah, watch our video, Who is the Beast and What is His Mark? Because the mark is not a physical mark. It's about how it's the beliefs of your mind, the works of your hands, how you worship. Do you worship God in spirit and in truth according to his commandments, or do you worship another way? But Satan is trying every trick in the book. I mean, literally, when you dig into this deep, you'll find out that your birth certificate, that you're signed a birth certificate, that is linked to the Vatican owning your soul and all this stuff. Satan is trying to say, look, I own them. Look at this birth certificate. I own them. Look at the symbol on the car they drive. Look at this symbol of the store they shopped in. Look at the symbol of the hospital that they trust and the pharmaceuticals that they're taking, the sorcery that they're involved in.
Mm-hmm.
He's trying to mark us in every way. Look at the food and the chemicals that are in there. Look at their, when you look at some of the stuff that's in food, it is the most unclean things that are condemned by the Bible, whether they slipping swine in there or fetal tissue, all kinds of stuff. And some of this stuff is not a big shock to you guys because you've been down this rabbit hole before and you know this. He wants to inject those things into you by scaring you because there's a big pandemic everywhere. So line up to get your fetal tissue shot. He's trying to corrupt you. He's trying to mark you in every way possible so that he, on the big judgment day, can say, none of these people are worthy. They're all mine. And this is a really good point you brought up about the beast system has to be controlled by technology. And isn't it interesting that all of this technology comes branded with literally Lucifer's name on the technology? It's so crazy.
Yeah.
That's not the right one yet. So Lucifer, then there's Inferno. I don't even know. Limbo and Dis. Bell Labs created an operating system named Inferno.
Yeah.
Satan. Are you kidding me? Look at this. Satan, a 1990s network security scanner, was deliberately given the acronym Satan, Security Administrator Tool for Analyzing Networks. Its creators even included a command called Repent that could rearrange the name into Santa. Interesting. I had this pulled up. Let's see. Yeah, no, that's not it. Here it is. Here's computerhope.com. Satan right here, updated November 2nd, 2025. Satan, which stands for Security Administrator Tools for Analyzing Networks. And the logo is this creepy looking scribble of a devil face. But this was a real thing. Most of Satan is written in Perl. All right. Eunuchs, demons. Okay, this is crazy. It looks like the word demons, but I want to show you something. You know about this, Aubrey.
Yeah, I do.
Demons are something to do with coding. I'm not a coder.
So it's when your code goes bad and basically something starts taking over your computer in a way, like a glitch occurs. But it's not just a glitch. It seriously starts doing other things. And it starts hiding in the background and messing with your stuff. So this is what it says. A daemon, they call it daemons, by the way, not demons.
Look, pronounced demon.
Oh.
Or daemon.
Or daemon.
Okay.
Most commonly refers to a computer program that runs quietly in the background without direct user control. Oh, they even say that. In mythology and history, it refers to a supernatural spirit, a guiding inner force, or an alternate spelling of the word demon.
Alternate spelling of the word demon. That's exactly what it is. This is a archaic way to spell demon. That's all it is. Listen.
Demon.
That is a program that is in probably every program.
Yeah.
Probably every program has demons. Literally. It sounds weird to even say that. Isn't that crazy?
And it usually gets worse. Like you seriously lose control of the entire system usually, or the entire program that you were trying to create or even master. And usually if it gets so bad,
not all of them.
Sometimes you have to abandon the machine. And it becomes known as either just a virus or something else.
Legion. We know Legion from the Bible, right? The demon-possessed man said, my name is Legion, for we are many. Right here, it even says it. Well, because ChatGPT is breaking it down. But it says Kali Linux. Man, Kali even. Includes a penetration testing tool named Legion. The name immediately recalled. Okay, so Kali. I'm pretty sure that is some kind of...
It is.
Who is pagan Kali? Oh, Kali is not a pagan deity, but rather a major and deeply revered goddess in Hinduism. That's paganism. She is the fierce Hindu goddess of time. Destruction again. Are you kidding me? AI means destruction, and Kali, a Linux program, means destruction. Like, how many times are they going to tell us to our face that this is all your demise? We're going to use this technology for your destruction and demise. So things that are linked to magic and sorcery. Image magic. This is, when you see the word magic spelled with a K, this is Aleister Crowley's sex magic. This is the official website, imagemagic.org. And it says mastering digital image alchemy. Right there. Alchemy, if you don't know what that is, it is a combination of science and sorcery. And is a free open source software suite used for editing and manipulating digital images. This is probably what AI is using to make images. I don't know.
Yeah, not good.
But it's just literally mind blowing how many times this is in our face. We're still not on that one yet. So image magic, installation wizards, we talked about that. Oracle and Delphi, we talked about that. Serpents and mythical monsters. Anaconda, really?
Yeah.
A major Python and database science platform is named after one of the world's largest snakes. Okay. So look at their logo. Oh my goodness. It's it is the Ouroboros. Yeah. This is the snake eating its own tail. This is the same symbol as the phoenix rising out of the ashes. So why is everything named after occult things? Hydra,
I've used that.
Medusa. We got Python, biblical names, and rebellion imagery. Babel, really? What is this? Babel is a JavaScript compiler. Babel. Oh, look at this logo. There's another Oracle. That's Airbnb.
Yeah.
So we got Babel, a necessary word about goats. What? About goats? Okay, Baphomet like goat. So that's all we have on that. Now let's look at the people who actually created these things.
Yeah, I took a nosedive into all of this, and it's been on my mind. I've looked it up before. I learned a lot, and then I didn't reject it, but I thought no one will believe me on this. So I stopped looking.
Hopefully when you see all that, you can't chalk it up as coincidence anymore, right? And it shouldn't be a shock that the people who made these programs are into this stuff.
Right. So we just found out the creator of Python, his name is Guido van Rossum. And I already knew about him, but he had some guy helping him named Tim Peters. And so I wanted it to bring up everything it knew about these guys. So it says, Tim Peters was not Python's creator or sole codifier. He was one of its most influential early developers, and the person who distilled Python's design philosophy into the Zen of Python is actually a book he wrote. It's like a helpful book on it. Calling Peters the codifier of Python is therefore only accurate in the limited sense that he codified many of Guido's design principles into a famous written set of aphorisms. I don't know how to say that necessarily, but...
You nailed it, babe.
Okay. So, Guido van Rossum was born in 1956 in The Hague, Netherlands. The eldest of 3 children. His father was an architect. Remember that. Hold on to that. And his mother, a school teacher. The family was described as pacifist. He studied at the University of Amsterdam, earning a master's degree in mathematics and computer science. While still a student, he worked at Amsterdam's Academic Computing Center, SARA, developing applications, utilities, and a job control language for a CDC mainframe. Now, we just have to keep going because it really starts unpacking itself at the beginning here. So in 1982, Van Rossum joined the Dutch research institute Centrum Wiskunde, I guess is how I'm going to say it, and Informatica, or CWI. He worked with Lambert Meertens and Leo Geertz on a teaching-oriented programming language called ABC. ABC was elegant and readable but difficult to extend and never attracted a large Unix programming audience. Van Rossum later worked on the Amoeba distributed operating system, where he became frustrated with having to write numerous small utilities in C. So C is a language on the computer, which you can understand, of course, if you've ever done any programming of any kind. It's too extensive. It's really frustrating. So how Python began, though, was during the Christmas holiday period. In December 1989, Van Rossum began writing an interpreter for a new scripting language as a personal hobby project. He wanted something that retained ABC's clarity but appealed to experienced Unix and C programmers and could be easily extended with new modules. A working version emerged in 1990, and Python 0.90 was publicly released on February 20, 1991. Okay. So they have up to Python 3.2 now, I think. Anyway, I'm going to skip over some of this because basically, like I said, it's one of the easiest languages to use. You talk to it in lots of different terms of, it has special terms, of course, that you have to use, but it has phrases, it has certain easy things you can say to it. But he called it Python, they said, because of Monty Python. They keep saying that until we get deeper and deeper into the layers, as we will see in just a minute. So he wanted to make it so that central goals of the program were that the code should be readable. Common tasks should be easy. A programmer should be able to understand another programmer's work. The language should serve beginners without becoming merely a beginner's language. It should be extensible rather than a closed system, and practical usefulness should usually outweigh rigid theoretical purity. Okay, so without going into all of that, we need to talk about his name, because he became known as the benevolent dictator of life in communities. And this meant that Python development was collaborative, but when major design disputes could not be resolved, he possessed final decision-making authority over the language and the communities involved. The title was intentionally tongue-in-cheek, apparently, rather than a political or religious office. They cling to that, but again, we're going to get deeper. So he worked for several key programming companies such as CWI, NIST, and CNRI. If you don't know what these things are, it's okay. I'm just going to leave it there. I'm not going to go into every single one of these because it's too much. But he worked for BeOpen.com as well, Zope Corporation, Elemental Security, Google, Dropbox, and Microsoft. Okay. At Google, he reached the rank of senior staff engineer. At Dropbox, he was a principal engineer, and his experiences there helped influence Python's modern type annotation work. He initially retired in 2019, joined Microsoft as a distinguished engineer in 2020, and led work intended to make CPython faster, and later explored AI memory systems. According to his current personal biography, he relinquished his Microsoft position and retired again in 2026. How interesting.
Just
His retirement means retirement from regular employment, not the erasure of his connection to Python. Of course, he'll never let go of that. He moved to the U.S., by the way, married an American from Texas, and lives with his family in the San Francisco Bay Area. Now, that can be very helpful sometimes when you think about paganism, because San Francisco Bay Area is very involved. But he got recognition for many things. We're not going to go into that. But his guy, Tim Peters, was Python's philosopher engineer. He is an American software developer and one of Python's earliest and most technically important contributors. Compared with Van Rossum, Peters has maintained a much less public personal profile. He's a reliable official. I'm sorry, it is too late. Reliable official sources provide extensive information about his programming work, but little about his date of birth, upbringing, education. Yeah, okay, that's too many gaps we don't need to go into. So, when Tim Peters came in, he began working with Python before its mature 1.0 era and became one of the people Van Rossum relied upon for difficult questions involving algorithms, numerical behavior, performance, and language design. His formal core team entry is dated June 30th, 2000, although his involvement predates that administrative record. As of the official team logs July 2026 update, he remains listed as a Python core team member, so he's still with it today. His relationship with Rossum, he faced challenges and ideas together, analyzed technical consequences. He basically was kind of like his second-hand man on all of everything. And that's really all I need you to know. So when it comes down to this, there's also Tim Sort. And this came out of the woodwork. And you'll see how these simple things kind of fit together soon. But Tim Sort was Peter's most famous technical creation, a sorting algorithm introduced into Python for version 2.3. It's adaptive. It's a stable sorting algorithm. It looks for portions of data that are already ordered, called runs, and combines those runs intelligently. Real-world data is frequently partly sorted rather than completely random, so it can exploit existing order and perform exceptionally well in everyday applications. His own technical description calls it an adaptive, stable, natural merge sort. All right, we're not going to get into all of that, but it's highly influential beyond Python, okay? And when we think about all of this, he wrote the algorithms chapter, by the way, of the Python cookbook. Yeah, that's a little bit strange. He still serves as a board of directors, or he did from 2001 through 2014. And there is, of course, the Zen of Python. When we actually talk about this, we need to be clear about what it is. So Tim Peters wrote the Zen of Python, or PEP 20, the Zen of Python. And this is circulated among the Python community. And they say that he was channeling, that's a very interesting use of words, channeling Van Rossum's guiding principles into 20 aphorisms. Only 19 of them were written down, and deliberately absent 20th principle is part of a joke. So it remains classified in some cases. However, here are some of the things he brought as best known principles. Beautiful is better than ugly. Explicit is better than implicit. Readability counts. In the face of ambiguity, refuse the temptation to guess. Although practicality beats purity. If the implementation is hard to explain, it's a bad idea. So a lot of that makes a lot of sense actually on a normal basis. But basically, let's look at this. So when you actually want something to happen in Python for exporting things, you just literally import this. And then you show it the path for that file. And so the Zen part is that he borrowed the word Zen from the PP itself, containing programming algorithms. I don't really get how that's funny, but in some ways they were laughing about it and such.
Zen is like, this well, it's like this state of calm that you get from practicing Eastern mysticism and stuff. So, yeah, I don't know why it would be a joke or whatever.
Yeah. And it's bringing up, of course, that Python was teaching Zen Buddhism in some way, which, okay, we'll have to get into. But we're gonna skip that. He was suspended for 3 months from the entire project and the community. All privileges, everything revoked, right? Then the whole controversy, it says, became divisive. Some developers defended the governing bodies and emphasized that long-standing contributors must follow the same conduct expectations as everyone else. Well, why would they be saying that? Well, they don't really know because parts of the process were then known to be confidential. The public record does not permit an outsider to reconstruct every communication with certainty. Peter's discourse account was restored by November 1st, 2024, and he returned to technical work. And he's still at least a part of discussions in April 2026. So he wasn't permanently expelled, but there was an issue as a developer there. So let's go ahead, and it's trying to summarize, of course, but we need to get deeper here, okay? I went straight into it with it. And I don't know, programming languages and Gnostic and Masonic themes is what I said. It answered back, there are genuine thematic overlaps between computer programming culture and Gnostic or Masonic symbolism, but they occur at several different levels. Well, how interesting is that? Because you only usually get different symbolism at different degrees in Masonry. So it's speaking the truth. Some are deliberate mythological references, some are ordinary technical metaphors, and some are symbolic interpretations imposed afterward. All right. So it says programming culture repeatedly borrows the language of hidden knowledge, builders, initiates, spirits, oracles, keys, enlightenment, and invisible powers. But that does not establish that programming languages are collectively created as a coordinated Gnostic or Masonic system. All right, so sure, we'll go along with that for now, but we're just going to keep looking deeper.
I'm just wondering why none of these programs are not called something like thought or brain or intelligence software. Right? It's always like some pagan god. Why has it got to be that way?
Or instead of logging metrics, why don't we just call it memory?
Yeah.
Like, please recall from your memory this, and that.
It's always got to be some pagan god. Oh no.
Oh no?
Well, Aubrey's got to take a break in the live. Oh no. You want me to take over this? Or
you
what?
Can start reading from there.
All right, so the fundamental Gnostic resemblance, ancient Gnostic systems vary considerably, but recurring ideas include the visible material world is not ultimately reality or ultimate reality. A hidden superior reality exists beyond it. The material world may have been... That's water, by the way, going into a glass. It totally sounds like I'm peeing or something. All right. Welcome to the live, guys. This is the Candid Truth. All right. The material world may have been fashioned by an inferior creator or demiurge.
Okay.
Ruling powers or archons control the lower realm. Humanity is trapped in ignorance. Liberation comes through hidden or salvific knowledge or gnosis. The awakened person discovers an inner spark connected to the higher world, and progress may require passing through spheres, rulers, barriers, names, or formulas. So this is all about entering into that metaverse of knowledge and, becoming a higher evolved being. This is transhumanism, singularity, all of that. And that's where we're at right now anyway.
And this is where it's actually telling you how this overlaps with programming naturally, uncannily. So it's visible material world is graphical interface or displayed output. So that's, man, it has all kinds of different names. But hidden higher reality, a source code, and underlying system. That is coding, basically. The demiurge in the Gnostic structure is a programmer or system architect. Okay? Archons are administrators, controllers, or privileged processes. Gnosis, technical knowledge of how the system really works. An awakening is understanding that appearances are generated. Did I read that right? Understanding that okay. Appearances are generated. Divine spark. Interesting. Why'd they be bringing that in? Well, divine spark in Gnostic structure is actually intelligence or consciousness within the system. We would say that about a computer or a machine that's starting to have intelligence, right? A divine spark. Secret names or formulas, which are commands, passwords, keys, and syntax. That's your key phrases and all these things you got to use in coding. Heavenly spheres, known as layers of abstraction or access levels in coding. Escape from the system in the Gnostic world is root access. Now that is like, if you can control the root, that's everything on a computer, by the way. System exit or transcendence of limitations. Yeah, you just did everything you could. So it's very strong. It says the analogy is there. The computer creates a visible world governed by invisible instructions, while only those possessing the right knowledge, for sure, can manipulate its deeper structure. So then it wants to tell me that this analogy is strong, yet there's not enough proof. Okay, well, it keeps wanting to correct me on things like that, but it's not quite right. So code itself resembles esoteric knowledge. Wow, okay, so it's getting somewhere. The word code has a double significance. A systematic set of instructions is one of them, and 2, a secret or concealed system of communication. Yep, it's telling the truth. A programmer writes invisible instructions. Again, here we go. Think about it. The programmer writes invisible instructions that determine what others experience visibly. Kind of like magic. Most users see only the surface. The initiate, this is the programmer, hacker, or administrator, knows what lies behind it.
Wow.
That resembles the esoteric distinction between the public teaching and the concealed teachings. Oh, that is so occult. Okay.
Wow.
Esoteric versus exoteric. I'm going to add that. But it also says the ordinary believer versus the initiated knower, appearance and reality, the outer form and the inner meaning. This parallel does not require every programmer to believe in Gnosticism. It means that programming is structurally compatible with esoteric metaphors.
Wow.
Okay, and here's the Masonic part. The builder pattern is there. Masonic symbolism is fundamentally architectural. Remember what the guy's father did as a job?
He was an architect.
That's right. Official Masonic sources openly employ degrees, temples and lodges, working tools, squares and compasses, aprons associated with craftsmen, Solomon in the temple, movement towards light, advancement through knowledge, and ceremonial stages.
Wow.
Right? Okay, they do, but it's going to add to this. The United Grand Lodge of England identifies the entered apprentice, fellow craft and master mason degrees, and calls the sacred volume square. There we go. They're actually telling you a secret right here if you didn't know that. This is a certain degree. I think it's 1, 2, and 3. No, a master mason might be higher. I'm not great at that, but you do employ it through the sacred volume, square and compass, and the three great lights is what it's saying. Its own educational material speaks of enlightenment, knowledge, and the Mason's journey through degrees. Scottish Rite materials likewise connect Masonic tradition with Solomon's Temple and Hiram. Okay, so software development, in contrast with this, uses the same vocabulary, software architecture. I, in fact, was an architect. I did have that skill. System architect, application framework, software construction.
Clarify that. This is like while you were in programming school or something?
Yes, so when I became a I got a cybersecurity degree, I worked towards basically, you know how everyone has areas they can go into as their niche, their specialty or whatever. I went to cloud security. And in that, you can become a cloud specialist and all these things, right? This kind of lower ranking. I did that, but I went through and did all the testing you have to do. You have to test continually to get to the top. And I did the testing and I made it to solutions architect, where you control all access to the entire program for the cloud.
Wow.
The cloud that you create usually for big businesses, big banks, all commercial stores, everything that you're working for, that pay you to fortify their security walls.
Good thing she retired that dream and entered into ministry now instead of being an architect.
Yeah. But I felt some strange, weird feeling about this. I was like, man, there are so many words like this. Mm-hmm. And the solution architect part just kept ringing in my ears like, yeah, this is Masonic to the core. And we're going to get further. So where was I? So fourth down, software construction, building tools, building an application, design patterns, programming languages, assembly language, object constructors, deployment tools, master processes and master branches, novice, junior, and senior levels, code craftsmanship, knowledge passed from experienced developers to apprentices. Yeah. The overlap is real, but there's an important historical complication. Both Freemasonry and software engineering borrow from actual building and craftsmanship. Therefore, a word such as architect or build does not by itself demonstrate, of course they're going to say that, Masonic influence. Okay. So the fact that you have to do so much testing and know their language in and out, like really wanted to know that you knew how to do that and master the language, the coding language even. That shows that right here, as they said, that you had been graded for initiation and secrecy, and you knew ciphers, and you had the keys to, and we encoded all kinds of things all day long. And there was recognition signs, there's privilege knowledge. I managed privilege access. That was what I was training to do. And it's light. Yeah, they call it light, not in the programming world, but it basically you can apply it as that. If you know, and you have the light to control these things, but it's also intellectual illumination. Like I have this ability, the freedom, everything that you want, but you can't have it. I have it.
Yeah, the keys.
So yeah. So as it says as well, right here, Freemasonry has historically used ciphers and concealed forms of ritual communication, including texts such as Copiel cipher. Masonic sources themselves acknowledge the fascination surrounding ciphers, codes, and modes of recognition. Okay, so here's a really simple rundown. In computer systems, this is what you have going on here. You have guest users, that's anybody and everyone. Ordinary users, they made their login, right? They used a password and their email. Guest users do not. They just get in. They can view it kind of like try before you buy. And developers, of course, are the ones writing the code. Ironically, administrators are the ones making sure that records and people are where they should be. Super users, man, this gets into so much. Super users, I forget, but they have such an important higher job than that. Root access means you control the entire system. Hidden developer modes, yeah, you didn't know those existed, but they do. Private repositories, so archives pretty much, that you can't get to. Security clearances, again, that's what I handled. Passwords and cryptographic keys, I also handled those. But they basically, when you, even as an administrator, have the control over a certain repository or something, it says right here, and it's true, someone may use a system for years without knowing its hidden structure. Basically, they can have access to it and be the one that manages it without even knowing what they give access to. When they're told, let this person in, they have no clue what's behind that door. Another person possesses commands that completely alter it, so they can be the ones to edit it. And you, again, don't have any clue as to what it changed into. So that can happen sometimes, which is frustrating. This resembles initiatory systems in which knowledge and authority are revealed progressively. Yet computing has a practical reason, for access control, its security. Thus, the resemblance may be symbolically meaningful without proving ritual intent. Yeah.
I'm just curious. I remember you were talking about when you were doing this research, these guys were like really involved in the Eastern mysticism.
We're getting
and all
there.
That.
We are unwrapping it.
Okay. That looks like a long wing.
It is. So we're going to skip this because we basically already went into some of this.
Oh, yeah.
It's kind of giving me blah, 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 all this stuff that we are... Interesting that Pearl uses the word blessing as one of its coding commands.
That's crazy. Blessed?
Yeah, blessed into a class.
Wow.
The religious verb is actually in the language. That's what it was showing you. He was... Oh, supposedly a Christian. Anyway, it doesn't matter. So, daemons, wizards, shell and kernels. Again, that's not really needed. That's not needed either. I'm sorry. This is very interesting. This does become a little bit important to understand. Artificial intelligence intensifies the Gnostic pattern. Yeah. The parallel becomes much stronger with artificial intelligence than with ordinary calculators or early programming languages. Why? Because it speaks of awakening, emergent intelligence, hidden knowledge, models discovering truths, superintelligence transcending biological limits. So think about that. When you get to AI and it can do everything better than a human and quicker, you are transcending biological limits. You're uploading consciousness into a machine that doesn't have consciousness, really. You're escaping the body, creating artificial life, and humans become godlike through their knowledge, making something else do it, and a new intelligence arises from material machine. Those resemble Gnostic and transhumanistic narratives like Mikey's been mentioning, where the mind is separated from the body, information is treated as more fundamental than matter, liberation through knowledge, the material body viewed as a limitation. Ascent into a higher mode of existence is done that way. Humans participating in their own recreation, they believe. This is not merely about names, it's a worldwide level convergence. Yes, that is true. So, without going into all of this, maybe we have to go over a few of these things one more time, because builders and architects construct the ordered world that you see on a computer. Everything. Knowledge is divided by proficiency and access. New members pass through progressive layers. Specialized signs, symbols, and languages identify insiders. Ciphers and concealed information separate insiders from outsiders. Light represents understanding. The initiate learns to control tools. The completed system resembles a temple or engineered order. That is correct.
What?
Yeah, well, we have to really dive. So, the master builder understands the complete design while everyone else doesn't fully understand what the full machine is doing. The public sees the structure but not the hidden plans.
Okay. This is interesting. This is where I want to segue into something that a user said on here. Alex, it would kind of be hard for me to find your comment to put on screen, but where you say specialized signs, symbols, and languages identify insiders.
Yeah.
And Master Builder understands the complete design and the public sees structure. This is all talking about like a hidden symbol or something. Now, check this out. This is microchip sigils. Look at this. These are microchips, guys. These are microchips compared to occult sigils that are used for summoning demons.
Yeah. Interesting, huh?
Is this just a coincidence? I mean, these are literally like solder dots with the wires and everything. And yeah, it's a very strange coincidence. I bet if you looked at all this, you would find so many things hidden in here. I don't know that that's just some weird coincidence. Wow. Let me see if there's another one. Yeah, isn't that nuts? And I've seen it also with the pyramids, microchip, pyramid comparison. Yeah, check this out. I mean,
yeah. You're basically setting down your structured order of a camp, and a temple and so on.
So a microchip literally looks like a blueprint, like from a aerial view of a blueprint.
Architecture.
And blueprints are important. I mean, in the Bible, God gave specific blueprint about how the traveling tabernacle is supposed to look. Certain fabric, certain order, like facing this direction. The Masonic Temple does the same thing. I found a book when I was parking those cars at the hospital, a Masonic book that had the blueprint of how their temple was supposed to look, where the seats were supposed to be facing the east and all this stuff, and where the altar would be and all that. This is all purposeful. I mean, I just don't think this is all just crazy coincidence that is completely meaningless. All right, continue.
Okay, so let me see if I can figure out where I was going with that. So we are skipping down a little bit. Forgive the motion that's going crazy here. I talked to it about being a cloud solutions architect like I was becoming, and the different degrees or levels of creation. I told it, there's overlaps here with Eastern mysticism or Gnostic esoteric language. Can you talk to me about it? We can't just turn a blind eye to it. And it says, I agree that the again, it's late. I'm sorry, you guys. I'm kind of glitching. But I agree that the cumulative pattern deserves examination. Looking at Python or wizard in isolation makes each connection easy to dismiss. Looking at the whole symbolic environment produces a different picture. Consider what is contained in the title, Cloud Solutions Architect. Cloud evokes an invisible, elevated realm. Architect denotes the one who plans and orders a constructed world. Solutions suggest the application of superior knowledge to disorder. Certification establishes an authorized level of mastery. The practitioner receives increasing privileges and influence over systems that ordinary users cannot see or control. That is how it works. And what I had to do, both with AWS and I was working on Google, but yeah, God changed my path. But here's where in the Masonic realm, it openly uses the term great architect of the universe over and over again for its God, right? As a designation for deity and organizes instruction through progressive degrees. Official Masonic material also repeatedly joins architecture, working tools, knowledge, light, construction, and moral development. That's how they do it. Now comparing it to AWS or Amazon's version of web services is what it's called. Their official language. It has a well-architected framework constructed around 6 pillars. Now, why 6? I don't know, but that seemed a little bit significant. And here are the 6.
Yeah, always 6.
Okay. Cloud or solutions architect is the great architect in contrast. Temple or constructed order in esoteric or Masonic language. In the cloud, it's engineered virtual environment. Pillars are architectural pillars. Degrees are the associate level, professional, or expert credentials. The working tools are called developmental and administrative tools. Light or knowledge is technical knowledge and visibility. I know that these are not, they're minuscule, but we're getting there. Initiation and instruction is your training, examination, and certification for these things. Your inner access is administrative privileges. So that's where you control who can get in completely. Mastery of the craft in Gnosis or Masonic stuff is then in programming your professional or expert certification. Plans are known to the builder in the esoteric world, but in computer world, its architecture was hidden from ordinary users. Okay, we don't know this, but in the NIST computer world, which is a huge organization for cloud computing and on-demand network access, it shares a pool of configurable computing resources. However, it uses cloud quite a lot, and it's adopted here because it already had a definition. I'm just going to skip to this. Cloud was adopted because a cloud shape has long been used in network diagrams to conceal irrelevant internal complexity. They just were talking about that from the uninitiated users, right?
Yeah, hidden knowledge.
Yet once the metaphor becomes the public name, it carries associations beyond that technical history, such as something above, something invisible, something everywhere, something entered but not physically located, an unseen realm where information is stored. Think about the cloud. A realm controlled by specialists, a place to which one sends personal information, an apparently immaterial domain that nevertheless controls material life. Isn't that true? Like, everyone has to use the cloud pretty much. In their real life, it is nothing tangible for them, really, but they all send their information up to the cloud where it's an unseen realm. The practical origin and the symbolic meaning can coexist, showing how a term arose does not make its later cultural associations disappear. I'm glad to hear it saying that. So all these terms, by the way, we're going to go through it, have links to religion, mythology, magic, initiation, hidden knowledge, and creation. Oracle, Delphi, Python, daemon, wizard, shell, kernel, root, master, architect, cloud, keys, certificates, tokens, inheritance, objects, creation and destruction, invocation, hosts, spirits, Zen, enlightenment, Genesis, Prometheus, Kubernetes, Hermes, Apollo, Titan, Pandora, Atlas, Metaverse. So it was either that we already showed you guys how some of these are names for certain programs, or that these are direct words you say in the coding for Python that does stuff.
What are spirits on there?
What are spirits?
Yeah.
I've actually not really used that.
Okay,
so
because when making video games,
Mhm.
every frame used in the game is called a sprite. So game, frame, sprite, game frame sprite. These are sprites. Like this. All these are frames of a character being animated. Now, why are they called sprites? Why would you... Sprite. What's that got to do with these frames at all? So, define sprite. Sprite. The word sprite has several distinct meanings depending on the context, most commonly referred to as a mythical fairy-like creature, a 2D graphic in a video game, like what I'm talking about, a popular lemon lime soft drink. Okay, that's interesting too. Now look, a fairy or spirit.
Mm-hmm.
That's what sprite means. A sprite is a spirit. In European folklore, a sprite is a supernatural fairy-like creature often closely tied to water or the river spirit. The origin of the word comes from the Latin spiritus, meaning spirit or breath. So again, I mean, this just goes deeper and deeper and deeper. Everything that has to do with programming, whether it's a game or whatever, has these terms.
That's right. So, yeah, I'm just not going to get into all this. We need to get down into... Okay. The programmer as the demiurge, right? It mentioned that once before, if you weren't listening, but it's bringing it up again. The programmer constructs a lower world. That's what the demiurge does in mythology. And in the computer world, the programmer writes the law or the code of the land. The code is invisible to those living within the interface. Objects are created according to predefined classes, and those objects operate within rules they did not choose. Administrators can intervene from outside the ordinary environment and change things. Users experience effects without seeing their causes. They don't know why something changed. Those with privileged knowledge can alter the world. And artificial agents may eventually appear to possess independent intelligence. Yes, they do have agents. Like in Kubernetes, we talked about the hounds, that's the mythological thing that comes with them. But it becomes an agent that works for you that deploys these new instances of a virtual machine to do certain things.
Number 6, users experiencing effects without seeing their cause. Makes you think of like Mandela effects.
Yeah. Of course, and I will vouch for this, most people in the software developer world don't have a clue that they're actually practicing Gnosticism.
Of course.
But Satan is more cunning.
Occult.
That's right.
Occult means hidden.
Exactly, but Satan is more cunning than this. So some people, though, at the top, which we will see, they have a little more of an inkling of what is happening.
I'm sure. They're the ones that named these things.
However, it's going to acknowledge here that programming supplies an unusual, powerfully lived metaphor for constructing and ruling a world through secret knowledge. It is unsurprising that Gnostic, Hermetic, and transhumanistic ideas flourish around it. It's talking about the programming world. How strange is that? Okay. Again, I don't know that we need to get into all of that, but yeah, that's not needed. Okay. So when I talk to it further, I won't tell you everything I said, but I was basically saying I think this pattern matters. Let's pay attention to it. And it wanted to rephrase everything again and again. So it did. It said the cumulative pattern should not be dismissed. At the same time, I cannot honestly say the available evidence proves that every programming language, blah, blah, blah.
All this is just a coincidence, guys.
Yeah.
All of it.
Okay, so it's starting to cover some things up. And I don't really want to go into all of that. But Cloud Architect, 6 pillars, blah, blah, blah. Here we are again. Again, it's going to say this is not proof that it's a bad thing. And all of a sudden it starts going through all these different terms. But did you know that invocation?
Invoke.
Yeah, is something we use quite a lot. We want to invoke something to happen.
Wow.
You invoke functions, methods, and remote procedures. And so you have that.
So look at the definition, just for somebody that might maybe not have heard the word invoke by chance, but it says, but its older ceremonial meaning is calling upon a spiritual being, authority, or power to appear or act.
Right.
The software version preserves the underlying pattern. So to invoke a spirit means to call upon a spirit or a god or whatever, invoke. And this is the same, it's the same word you use for the coding.
Yeah. Yeah. Avatar is one, of course, we should all be aware of, but more deeply, it's linked to Sanskrit. You know, the deity of the Hindus.
Isn't that a language, right?
It is a language, but it's linked with Hinduism.
Yeah.
So it's the Sanskrit idea of deity's descent or incarnation into a visible earthly form. In computing, of course, we know the avatar is a person's visible manifestation inside an artificial world. Okay, so that has lots of implications there.
Yeah, Avatar is a pagan thing too.
Yeah, so if you didn't know, just real quick, shell is the outer interface through which a user communicates. Kernel is the hidden core controlling the machine. And root is the highest level administrative identity or foundational authority. So this actually looks like, in the esoteric world, the correlation of outer teaching versus inner teaching, external form versus concealed essence, ordinary participant versus one possessing root authority, and surface experience versus ultimate control. I have said that over and over again, and we do use keys, tokens, certificates, and credentials. I'm not going to get into that further. Yeah, that's not really needed. Ironically, we do have in Google's internal system, we have what's called the Borg, which, you know, you have Trekkies. I'm a Trekkie. I gave that up when I got serious about my life with Christ. Yeah. And so that means a lot to me if you're a Star Trek fan.
Well, cyborg, right?
Mm-hmm. But it still kind of says the same thing. It's named Borg. It emits, schedules, starts, restarts, and monitors applications across numerous clusters for you, which is, again, what Kubernetes was subsequently shaped by lessons from the Borg and related systems. So that's exactly what it does. And the Borg in Star Trek, there we go. It knows. Most people find that hilarious, of course, but there's always some truth in some things. The mystical oneness, yes. Python basically, like I said, becomes the one language you need. It comes from the declared ambitions of transhumanism. It's what it's saying.
Well, that makes me think of the Tower of Babel. It was one language.
Yeah.
When we all come together and have one language, God said there's nothing we can't do, and it's all used for evil.
So you have Ray Kurzweil. Again, I didn't have to know these people's names, so maybe I'm butchering it, but he has described the technological singularity as an intimate merger between humanity and the technological evolutionary process, with distinctions between human and machine, and even physical and virtual reality, eventually becoming blurred or disappearing.
No.
Neuralink publicly states that it seeks a generalized brain interface that can restore autonomy now and unlock human potential later. Another company update describes its ultimate goal as interfacing with every aspect of the human brain. Okay, so we can see all that. And it's interesting. It says what an occult takeover would look like. I didn't ask for this, but it gave it to me anyway. It said it would not necessarily require robed initiates openly performing rituals in data centers. It could occur culturally and institutionally through universal digital identity, centralized credentials required for participation, continuous surveillance and telemetry, algorithmic classification of behavior, automated permissions and exclusions, dependence on a small number of cloud infrastructures, artificial mediation of knowledge and relationships, substitution of virtual identity for embodied community, human-machine integration, and a worldview in which technical experts define acceptable reality. Whoever controls the identity systems models, data centers, credentials, algorithms, and control planes, gains tremendous influence over what people can know, say, buy, access, or become.
That's true.
That danger is real even if no occult conspiracy exists.
Right.
Okay, but this follows, it's actually admitting, this follows the biblical pattern of the closest biblical archetype, which is at Babel, right? The one language, one collective program, one centralized project, the making of a universal name, an ascent towards heaven, human unity organized in defiance of God.
Wow.
And it starts bringing Genesis 11 into this. It says, the danger, I'm not sure that is, we need to look up that verse because it's not getting into it, and I think it might be making an assumption. Genesis 11. I'm pulling it up on my phone. Genesis 11.
What is it? Genesis 11 what?
Just 11. I don't know. So this is when they said, go to, let us make brick and burn them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone and lime for their mortar. And they said, go, let us build a city and a tower whose top may reach into heaven. And let us make us a name, lest we be scattered abroad upon the face of the whole earth. And the Lord came down to see the city and the tower which the children of men built. And the Lord said, behold, the people are one, and they have all one language. This they begin to do, and now nothing will be restrained from them, which they have imagined to do. Go to, let us go down and there confound their language, that they may not understand one another's speech. And it's claiming this is not a bad thing. They're saying God didn't do this because it was a bad thing. That's what AI was just saying. However, it is, in fact. It is misinterpreting the Bible in that moment.
Wow, I didn't even notice it said that.
Yeah, it was not doing well. So, but it does show, I'm going to just jump to this part, because there is the superior knowledge that is offered as the path of becoming a god in Genesis 3, the serpent that is there. The strongest parallel is therefore not that Python secretly equals Satan. It is that technological culture repeatedly promises expanded knowledge, expanded power, transcendence of limits, and participation in creation itself. So I can mostly agree with all that. I thought I would go into the 6 pillars just in case it was hiding anything really juicy in there. Not really. It's things most people want in a good working organization or computer or whatever. So we're going to skip through that. And this is where it also gets interesting, because I said I had knowledge of the lexicon snake from college. It's actually a whole database you use in college, where a snake is wrapped around a tree for knowledge, and it's what seems to be inferred by liberated from darkness or death. And it says, yes, that reading is historically grounded in the Gnostic symbolic lexicon. The serpent entwined with a tree of knowledge can represent liberation through forbidden enlightenment, escape from ignorance, imposed limitations, spiritual darkness, and ultimately death.
This is a picture of this?
Yes,
Of this? What is this? A lexicon snake?
Yeah.
That's what it's called?
I'll have to find the database.
Is it this?
No.
Lexicon? Oh, there's the Gnostic.
They have that one, but they also have another one.
Oh, features in Ouroboros.
Mm.
What is this, though? This is not a program?
No, it's basically collections of studies all over the world that they want you to use online for when you're writing papers in college.
Oh, okay.
It's their credibility, credible sources type of archives that are acceptable in this world.
Okay.
So, it can, did I read that already? Ultimately death, yes. Okay. In the biblical account, the serpent connects 3 promises. You shall not surely die, your eyes shall be opened, and you shall be as gods, knowing good and evil. So the serpent's offer, it says, is not knowledge alone. It is combined promise of freedom from death, open perception, divine status, wisdom withheld by God. Indeed, that was true. I'm just going to skip through that and say that is true. In certain Gnostic writings, the reverse the moral roles. The creator who forbids the tree becomes an ignorant or jealous ruler trying to keep humanity unconscious, while the serpent becomes an instructor who awakens humans to their divine identity. That is exactly what it teaches. And it goes on to give an example. The hypostasis of the archons, the serpent is explicitly called the instructor.
What?
It tells Eve that she will not die, that her eyes will be open, that she'll become like the gods. The text identifies the intelligence speaking through the serpent with a spiritual instructing principle.
Whoa.
The Testimony of Truth is another book or writing, it looks like, which likewise retells the Eden episode sympathetically towards the serpent, emphasizing that it caused the eyes of the mind to open. That is almost exactly the meaning you are detecting. The serpent liberates humanity from darkness and threatened death by revealing knowledge that the ruling creator tried to conceal. Okay? This gets so much into the esoteric occult world right here because it mostly all centers around their tree of knowledge, right? A tree of life and so on. And it says the tree supplies several connected meanings, and with knowledge, it holds the wisdom that changes human consciousness. Life or immortality, we know that. Tree of knowledge or tree of life. Ascent, you have to move up the different levels of the tree of life, usually in all occult systems, to attain perfection and higher realms of enlightenment. Connection with the roots, branches in the world can represent the joining of different levels of reality. Hidden potential. I'm just going to skip through some of these. The serpent historically carries more than one meaning, which is why it is such a powerful symbol. Its secret or concealed wisdom, death and danger, renewal through shedding its skin, healing, immortality or regeneration, movement between earth and underground realms, cunning intelligence, sexual or generative energy, cyclical life, particularly when depicted biting its tail.
Yeah, the Ouroboros. So this is them trying to justify, like, oh, the serpent doesn't always represent the devil. The reason it's such a powerful symbol is because it can refer to concealed wisdom. Are you kidding? Concealed wisdom. Why is the serpent associated with concealed wisdom? Because it goes right back to the Garden of Eden. That's why.
Right.
It's crazy.
Okay, so and they say these meanings are not identical across every culture. Yeah, I get it. But most of them are. They are talking about a snake. They are talking about a tree. Most of them are, they've got this upside down knowledge or Edenic story of Adam and Eve or some Adam and something else, whatever. But it says the exact combination matters. A snake beside a generic branch is ambiguous. A serpent wrapped around a tree associated with knowledge, books, language, light, or awakening strongly reinforces the Gnostic Eden interpretation. In Gnostic liberation, it commonly is framed as escape from ignorance, which is treated as a kind of darkness. The person is not merely lacking information. The person is asleep to the true nature of reality and to the supposed divine element within. The sequence becomes darkness, encounter with hidden teaching, awakening, knowledge, liberation, and return to the higher realm. That same sequence appears in many initiatory systems, where you have the profane outsider, their initiation, progressive revelation, illumination occurs, and then higher degrees or mastery levels. Freemasonry's movement from darkness towards light works the same way, and Gnosticism's movement from ignorance towards gnosis are not identical teachings, however, but both make transformative knowledge central. All right, so we're going to skip through this. Of course, it's liberation from death. They just said it. Death is your stupidity almost when you're not enlightened. And it does. It resonates with all these things because technology is providing the means to become a god. a higher digital state, right? Creation like power. That is where this all starts coming together. Your eyes shall be opened, expanded perception through data and AI. You shall have knowledge, universal computational access. You shall be as gods, humans creating minds and artificial worlds. You shall not surely die is, in contrast, longevity, mind uploading or digital continuation, which they promise through transhumanism. Escaping the lower world, they would say in technology, is transcending biological and physical limitations. An ascent through gnosis is advancement through technical knowledge. Okay? They want to tell me it's not based on this and that and so on. We already talked about the metaverse. This is where I brought that in. Kerberos is, I think, one of those names that we have in, yeah, it is. It's a system in programming, but it also means guards to the entrance to the underworld. I'll just point that out for now. Charon, ferrying dead systems across the river Styx. So it's kind of a ritual they used to do, I think, back in Egypt. And Styx itself is, the river Styx divides the world of the living from the realm of the dead, usually in mythology.
That was a band named Styx, and it was about all this junk.
Okay, Hades, as we know. You guys know this. Why underworld language fits computing so well. Do you want to read that?
Yeah, so underworld imagery is especially attractive. Interesting. Is especially attractive in computing because computer systems contain a hidden lower realm beneath the visible interface. The ordinary user sees windows, pictures, buttons, text, websites, but underneath are background processes, demons, kernels, root privileges, hidden files, memory, machine code, security guardians, virtual machines, dead or zombie processes. Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
The programmer or administrator descends beneath the visible surface, interacts with hidden agents, crosses boundaries, resurrects dead processes, and returns with knowledge unavailable to the ordinary user. That naturally resembles the ancient underworld journey. Descend below the visible world, pass a guardian or gate, possesses the correct key, token, payment, or name, cross a boundary, encounter invisible powers, retrieve knowledge, or recover something lost, return transformed or with greater power.
Mm-hmm.
Death is built into operating systems vocabulary. Several routine computer terms directly use death language, like kill.
Yeah.
A user administrator kills a process, meaning that the operating system terminates it. Zombie process. A zombie is a process that has finished executing but remains in the system's process table because its parent has not yet collected its termination status.
So parent is kind of like a generation of it in its earliest form is still alive in the underlying program.
It is literally described as dead but not fully removed. Orphan process, a process whose parent terminates before it does, becomes an orphan and may be adopted by another system process. Demon, an unseen background agent, continues operating behind the visible interface. Such a fitting name, demon. You know, it's like when Jesus saw the man who was possessed with legion, he just looks like a man, right? There's this guy out here. I mean, of course, he was doing weird stuff, but there was something inside of him behind the veil that you couldn't see. He was invisible. Legion, resurrection or restart, image, ghost. Are these important or?
No,
Okay.
we can skip.
I
more.
want to see these guys.
Yeah.
What they were into.
We need to skip down into that then. I want to read this real quick. The defensible middle conclusion is substantial, by the way. Technology's creators repeatedly and deliberately select mythological figures whose functions mirror the powers being constructed, guarding hidden realms, transporting identities between worlds, obtaining forbidden knowledge, creating alternate realities, predicting events, stealing divine power, and overcoming death. Okay. I didn't like that it kept like rephrasing everything I had to say. So this, I was telling it, basically, let's look at the Sanskrit Indic layer within the language, right? Once I looked specifically for it, it says I found several cases where the religious meaning and this computing function correspond very closely. One distinction is useful. Software can certainly contain accidental bugs, but names such as Kali, body, oh my goodness, Moksha, chakra, avatar, lotus, etc. are chosen identifiers. The choice might be humorous, aesthetic, philosophical, or religious, but the word did not accidentally type itself.
Yeah.
So the meaningful question is why that particular metaphor was attractive. Okay? And just so you know, we have exactly the same language. Bodhi is awakening or enlightenment. Moksha, liberation, release, especially liberation from samsara. I don't know what samsara is, but we're going to keep going through these. Guru meditation is actually something you can type in and it does something. In the computer, it'll explain that. And it is used, by the way, Sanskrit itself is a sacred classical Indic language with extraordinarily formal grammatical traditions. Like, we're talking about Hindu Indian, from India. And this is the connection right here. So this is the language itself in India. Then you have in the technology world, it's explicitly studied in relation to AI knowledge representation. And there's a huge connection because we'll see that there's much more to this. Actually, we don't need to read every little bit of this. Oh, this is interesting. It is your identity. The avatar thing is your identity manifested inside another world through another body. Merriam-Webster actually places these meanings beside one another in the Hindi incarnation and electronic representation of the computer user. The computing usage was popularized by Richard Garriott with Ultima. What is that number again?
9.
9. Okay. Quest of the
4.
Avatar.
It's 4.
Okay. The concept was specifically that the player, not merely some detached fictional character, would be manifested within the virtual world.
An avatar is literally like a possession. It's you're being controlled by something else. Remember the movie Avatar? Mm-hmm. The human guy was possessing a body of that blue alien thing. That's what avatar means.
Oh, here we go.
You're possessing something else.
Guru meditation is not even subtle. Early Amiga computers famously displayed guru meditation when the system suffered a catastrophic error. And this wasn't something later users read into it. But the developers had an internal game in which someone sat cross-legged like an Indian guru, remaining perfectly still on their joy board controller. Movement caused a guru meditation error. The joke was then deliberately incorporated into the operating system's fatal error terminology. This really doesn't tell us what you want to know, though. If we need to get through this, we will find, right here. In 1985, Rick Briggs worked at the Research Institute of Advanced Computer Science at NASA, Ames Research Center. He published a paper titled Knowledge Representation in Sanskrit and Artificial Intelligence. This is real, but not the internet myth that NASA decided to program its computers in Sanskrit. Briggs argued something much more interesting. He compared ancient Sanskrit grammatical analysis with modern AI semantic networks and knowledge representation schemes. and concluded that the resemblance was extremely close. His abstract says the ancient grammarians had developed a method of paraphrasing Sanskrit that was identical not only in essence but in form to then current AI work. He even concluded that AI researchers were effectively reinventing a wheel millennia old. That is extraordinary in the context of what we're investigating. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Ancient Sanskrit intellectual system is formal rules governing language and meaning, representation of knowledge, comparison with artificial symbolic systems, and is basically artificial intelligence. That's what they're saying. There was even a 1986 National Conference on Knowledge Representation and Inference in Sanskrit, inspired by Briggs' paper, followed by a report in AI Magazine. There's a huge, programmers will actually learn Sanskrit. Did you know that?
No.
Yeah, they will actually go out of their way to learn Sanskrit to be best at coding.
Oh. That's interesting.
Yeah. So, again, I'm not going to go through every little thing, but this is important right here. Historian Fred Turner's major study From Counterculture to Cyberculture traces how the American computer revolution grew directly out of networks associated with the 1960s counterculture. His work describes the transformation of computers from symbols of centralized military industrial control into tools of personal transformation, communalism, and digital utopianism. And that counterculture was deeply permeated by Eastern religion, Zen, Hindu philosophy, psychedelia, altered consciousness, communalism, human potential movements, cybernetics, and ideas of expanding or transforming consciousness. Then we find figures like Kapoor teaching transcendental meditation. Steve Jobs traveled. Here we go. This is like the aha moment for people.
Yeah, exactly.
What we've been waiting for.
Tune in, guys.
Kapoor, who's like a guru. Steve Jobs traveled to India seeking enlightenment and later explicitly described Zen Buddhism as a profound influence on his aesthetics and thinking.
I want to know if Smithsonian Magazine has a picture of this or something.
It cites it.
Oh, come on. Dude never took a picture over there? Okay. Anyway.
It could be hard, but... So there is an identifiable historical transmission channel. Yes, we have this connection, what he was motivated by. Okay. So all of a sudden I have a little bit of information that I went crazy with. And there's a word, by the way, just since it brought it up, with the reality of an avatar called Maya. It's the doctrine or concept of phenomenal appearance or illusion. Okay.
Isn't that a programming language or something? Maya?
I've never heard of Maya.
Huh. I could have swore I heard people say I made this with Maya.
I don't know. Okay. So here I said, are there other renowned creators or computer world language persons who went to gurus, Brahmins, Sanskrit, or mythology for enlightenment or such in their free time even? It said yes. And there are more than a few. One factual correction still remains first because it matters to tracing the symbolism accurately. It doesn't want me to use the Greek meta as meaning death. It really didn't like that. So it started going back on its word about that stuff. All right. So what is much harder to dismiss, it says, is the number of major technology figures who personally pursued Eastern spirituality, often away from work, on pilgrimages, retreats with gurus, or through sustained religious practice, and in several cases then explicitly connected those experiences back to their technological vision. Okay? So Steve Jobs, as we heard, he went to India, got with this guru, and got into Zen Buddhism. It says it's probably the strongest famous example. That was in 1974. He went on specifically a spiritual quest with Daniel Kotke, who later became Apple employee number 12. That's interesting too. The Computer History Museum says he went seeking spiritual understanding and returned as a Buddhist. Jobs was particularly interested in Neem Karoli Baba, the Hindu guru associated with Hanuman devotion. I have no clue what that is. But Jobs reached India after this guru had died, so he did not personally meet him, but he went to the associated ashram temple seeking him and remained influenced by that spiritual current. He then became deeply involved in Zen Buddhism, studying under Zen priest Kobun Chino Otagawa. Smithsonian's account, based on Walter Isaacson's work, says Jobs made a long pilgrimage through India seeking enlightenment, and that Japanese Zen became a deep influence on him. Jobs himself described Zen Buddhism as aesthetically sublime. This matters because Jobs did not keep the influence confined to Sunday afternoon spirituality. People close to him explicitly connected Zen to Apple's minimalism, the simplicity of it, intense focus, elimination of unnecessary elements, and the experience of interacting with the machine. So in Jobs, you genuinely will get India, the quest for enlightenment, Hindu guru environment, Zen discipline, which turned into technological design philosophy. It's saying it's not in inferred sequence. It's there, basically. It's documented. We can look at that. Then you have Mark Zuckerberg. He enters the scene. He is sent to India by Steve Jobs, by the way, to recover Facebook's mission.
What?
Mission. This one is extraordinary because Zuckerberg himself told the story publicly, okay? When early Facebook was struggling and he was considering whether to sell it, Zuckerberg went to Steve Jobs for advice. Jobs told him to go to the Indian temple that Jobs had visited during the period when he was developing his own vision for Apple. Zuckerberg told Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, he said, Jobs told him to visit the temple in order to reconnect with Facebook's mission. The official government of India transcript reports Zuckerberg saying the temple figured into Jobs' own evolution of thinking about Apple and his vision of the future. Zuckerberg traveled around India for nearly a month and said the experience reinforced his vision of connecting people throughout the world. Think about the succession here. You have a guru ashram tradition handed down to Steve Jobs for his Apple vision. Then you have Jobs. He becomes a mentor to Mark Zuckerberg, who sends Zuckerberg to the same Indian spiritual location. He returns, Zuckerberg does, with his conviction concerning global human connection and creates Facebook.
This is making me think of something that Zuckerberg, he was on a talk show one time, and he was talking about how he never takes his hoodie off, and inside his hoodie had a very strange thing. Mark Zuckerberg's signature black zip-up hoodie from 2010 became a symbol of early Silicon Valley culture. It featured Facebook's original mission statement. Remember, we just saw this, that when he went to India, he got the epiphany for his mission, making the world open and connected. This is exactly what we were just reading. And a graph stream platform diagram printed on the inner lining. All right? Printed on the inner lining. I want you to see what was printed on the inner lining here. This is so strange looking. If you know, you know. I'm seeing the hexagram here, the six-pointed star. This is on the inside of his hoodie.
Yeah.
And he didn't pick that symbol just by coincidence. It also looks like the what is it called? The Star of Chaos or something. I mean, look right here. Yeah. Other people are clearly putting this together. Look in the center. Look at the center. See that?
Yeah.
Like around the 2010, you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You can see the hexagram right there in the center. So it's perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy.
Okay.
Anyway, that's the mission. The Facebook
Yep.
mission. You see who he works for, guys.
It trickles down, however, to Mark Benioff. I don't know who this guy is, but he traveled to his guru in India immediately before he made Salesforce. We do know that name usually. Salesforce founder Mark Benioff gives us an even more direct example. During his transition away from Oracle, he did work for Oracle. He traveled to India on what he has described as a period of spiritual searching. He went to see Mata, oh my goodness, what a name, Amritanandamayi, commonly called Amma. I'm going to call him Amma. The Hindu spiritual leader from Kerala, whom Benioff has referred to as his guru. In recounting Salesforce's origins, Benioff has said that the company effectively began during his 1996 to 97 India journey, while he was going to see his guru. He credits the experience with helping form his concept that business should have a higher social purpose. And look where Benioff has just come from, Oracle. So you have the future creator of one of the largest cloud companies leaving Oracle, undertaking the spiritual journey from his guru, consequently creating Salesforce, one of the companies most responsible for establishing cloud software as a dominant model in the world, I would add. That doesn't prove an occult scheme necessarily, but it's a fascinating piece of the cultural genealogy we're examining.
AI just will not admit it. Just admit it.
Yeah. So then you have this guy, Mitch Kapoor, which it mentioned once before, but it says he was not casually meditating. He was a full-time transcendental meditation teacher. This one is particularly important because he is a bona fide historic software creator. However, he founded Lotus Development Corporation and co-created Lotus 123 out of the foundational killer applications of personal computing. The Computer History Museum recognizes him specifically for that contribution. Before his software career took off, however, he became a teacher of transcendental meditation.
Whoa.
Not a weekend class. He says in his own Computer History Museum oral history, I became a teacher of transcendental meditation. I did that full time for a couple of years.
Wow, dude.
So one of the central creators of the early PC software revolution spent years professionally teaching a mantra-based spiritual system derived from Maharishi Mahesh Yogi's Indian movement before entering the computer world. And his company's name? Lotus Development Corporation.
Yeah. Lotus is very significant in the New Age meditation world.
Okay. You want to read Jack Dorsey?
Jack Dorsey, programmer, Twitter co-founder, intensive Vipassana. Jack Dorsey, programmer and co-founder of Twitter and Square Block, practiced Vipassana meditation. I did not know that was a meditation. Seriously enough to undertake extended silent retreats. In 2018, he went to Myanmar for a 10-day silent Vipassana retreat. What's especially interesting is the language Dorsey himself used to describe the practice in his public account, and describes its objective as essentially hacking the deepest layer of the mind and reprogramming it. That description was reported directly from his post. That wording is almost tailor-made for the subject we're discussing: Eastern contemplative system, deepest layer of consciousness, hack it, reprogram it. In other words, the programmer's conceptual framework was being applied to the transformation of consciousness itself. This is transhumanism right here. That is a fascinating meeting point between software engineering and Eastern spiritual anthropology. Larry Brilliant, Himalayan ashram, Neem Karali Baba.
Same guy, same guru.
Then Google.
Steve Jobs.
Larry Brilliant wasn't a programming language inventor. He but he became highly embedded in the technology establishment and was the first executive director of Google.org. Wow. His story is far more spiritually intensive than Jobs. Brilliant spent years and years in India, including time studying at the Himalayan ashram of Neem Karoli Baba. He became a disciple, was given the surname Subramaniam, and credits the guru with directing him toward the work that eventually brought him into the WHO, the World Health Organization, smallpox eradication effort.
Oh.
His own website describes him explicitly as a spiritual seeker. And names Neem Karoli Baba among the spiritual masters central to his life. It also notes his later role launching Google philanthropic operation. What's particularly relevant is that Brilliant became a bridge between the Indian guru world and Silicon Valley. His social circle connects Neem Karoli Baba, Ram Dass, Steve Jobs, Google, major Silicon Valley founders, and international institutions. So this wasn't simply millions of unrelated Californians independently discovering meditation. Specific people formed interpersonal bridges between countercultural Eastern spiritual networks and the technological establishment. So this was hand in hand. Chad Ming Tan, Google engineer, becomes Silicon Valley's Zen master. Then Google itself institutionalized some of this. Chad Ming Tan was an early Google engineer. He went on to create Google's famous internal program, Search Inside Yourself. His own biography cites descriptions of him as Silicon Valley's Zen master alongside recognition of his status as a serious Google engineer. The program blended meditation, mindfulness practices with emotional intelligence training for engineers and employees. Really? And Google became unusual enough in its respect that Wired reported Buddhist monks visiting the Google campus. Former Google data scientist Dan Zigmund recalled working on statistics code, looking up and finding groups of Tibetan monks in robes touring the workplace. I want to see this. This is crazy. Okay. Where are these robed monks? What?
Oh,
come on.
No photograph, huh?
There's got to be. Buddhist monks visiting the campus of what, Google?
Google. Oh, wow. There you go.
Here we are. Wow. This is crazy. Wow. So, yeah. To deny there's anything spiritual going on here is just ignorance. Wired described an entire Silicon Valley phenomenon it called enlightenment engineers. So this is them trying to open their third eye, eat from the fruit of knowledge of good and evil, listening to the serpent through Python, remember? That phrase is unusually appropriate to our investigation. Dan Zigmund, Google and Facebook, technologist and Zen priest. Here's another one I hadn't mentioned previously. Dan Zigmund worked in major technology companies including Google and Facebook and held senior data roles. He is also a Zen priest. At Google, he described himself as part of a Buddhist culture running through portions of the company, including the monk visit mentioned above. So we have moved beyond some programmer once called something Zen. Yeah, this isn't just like, oh yeah, this guy said, he called it program Zen or whatever. There were actual practicing Zen figures inside major technological organizations. Kevin Kelly, the ideological infrastructure around computing. Kevin Kelly isn't a programming language creator, but he is tremendously important to cyberculture. He helped launch Wired, helped organize the Hackers Conference, participated in the early Well online community, helped introduce virtual reality and artificial intelligence, artificial life ideas to broad audiences, wrote Out of Control and What Technology Wants. Before all that, Kelly dropped out of university and spent much of the 1970s roaming Asia, including India, Nepal, Sri Lanka, Thailand, Burma, Myanmar, Japan, Afghanistan, and other countries. His own biography says, instead of going to university, I went to Asia. That was one of the best decisions I ever made. He later wrote for New Age Journal, edited Whole Earth Review, helped organize early hacker culture, and became one of the principal philosophers of technological emergence. Interestingly, Kelly eventually identifies a Christian conversion experience, so I wouldn't characterize him simply as Hindu or Buddhist, but he is another important bridge connecting. Oh my goodness.
Okay.
So he's merging Hinduism and Buddhism and Christianity, just like we know what's coming soon.
Okay, so it starts summing them up. We know this. I want to say this. It starts putting this together. A fascinating reoccurring node is Neem Karoli Baba, the same guru reappearing. Okay? I was saying this before. He was involved with Ram Dass and Larry Brilliant, Steve Jobs, Zuckerberg, and this was even after he was dead. Do you understand this? Like, he arrived, it said. Steve Jobs arrived when this guy had already died. And yet that influence still is there. They all went to go see this guy.
Wow.
And it's an actual line of influence running through several generations of Silicon Valley. Wow. Did we know this? No, none of us knew this before.
Right.
There are other guys right here, of course, that they have not find no connection with, that have been associated with Asia or gurus and so on. But it kind of just ended there. I'm going to say that it did, because quite honestly, it didn't have any other connections.
So somebody brought up in the chat, back to sigils.
Yeah.
Emoji sigils. I'm skeptical, but I want to see. I've seen these before, but it's pretty interesting. So basically, if you take a sigil and color it yellow, you have an emoji. It's pretty interesting. You know, I know that emojis are just simple faces, basically, but this is pretty interesting. I mean, this stuff's incorporated in so much of our technology. I definitely believe that the microchips and all that definitely tie into this whole sigil thing. But I hope you guys learned a lot, because I did. I knew here and there's like, oh, we didn't even talk about Google Gemini. Gemini is also another, it just has to do with astrology and paganism. But I hope this was a blessing to you guys. If it was, please give this video a thumbs up. It really helps this video get out into the algorithm, because we've been demonetized. Not monetized. We've never been monetized. We've been rejected monetization 3 times now. I've applied 3 times. All 3 times YouTube says, you've been rejected due to harmful content. Clean up your content, reapply again in 2 months. They're not going to accept us, so you can't do super chats. You can't hype this video, and we don't get paid. You don't have to watch commercials, though. That's the best part. And so if you guys would just please like it, share it with all your family and friends, so that they can see what's happening, that we literally live in Satan's world. Like the Bible says, that we battle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against the rulers of the darkness of this world. We are battling against darkness, the rulers of this world. And it says that Satan is the god of this world, who's blind to the minds of the unbelievers. So there's millions of people on this world that have no idea how saturated our world is, our culture is with the occult. They just don't see it. They're blinded. And so I hope that this will be a wake-up call, that somebody who's on the fence about Christianity or just doesn't believe at all can see we are literally living in a spiritual war. Like, Satan is trying to stamp everyone with his seal and continue to blind us and bash Christianity and make God look like a villain with these Gnostic themes, brainwashing humanity because Jesus is coming soon. That's what all this is about. Why do we go into all this stuff? Not to say everything's evil, not to say stop using your computer, smash your phone or whatever, but to prove that there is a spiritual war going on. And it literally is Satan versus Christianity. Nothing else is being bashed. You don't see Islam being bashed or the New Age. You see all that stuff being shoved down your throat. I mean, every commercial is pushing New Age. Every movie's pushing the occult, and always constantly bashing Christ and God. And if you would like to support this ministry so that we can continue to do this work, we're 100% donation based. We cannot do this without you. You guys can go to CandidTruthOrg. We got Cashapp, Venmo, Zelle, PayPal. We even have a Patreon page if you would like to give a donation monthly. We now hit 17,000 subscribers. It's amazing that you guys are finding this channel, because we know we're being shadow banned. We know YouTube is not pushing our content out there, because why would they? We're not monetized. We're not making them any money. They're not pushing our stuff out there. So 17,000 subscribers is completely organic growth, thanks to you guys sharing this stuff. And if we were able to get a small little donation from each and every one of you that feel led to, we can really continue to do this work. We can put out more stuff. We're working on something right now, a documentary about when we went to Guatemala and exposed a bunch of Illuminati stuff going on out there. We got some kids books in the works. We got a lot of things going on right now. We are not just sitting around in our PJs. We are doing a lot of research. We are putting out a lot of resources, and we need your help to do that. And if you would like to buy some cool merch, we got some cool merch on our channel. It really helps this channel continue. You can get hoodies, mugs, shower curtains, whatever on that on the website, CandidTruthOrg. And there's actually an app that's really helping people right now. It is called Longevity Cycle. And I'm going to try and load that up real quick while we're sitting here. Bear with me, guys. This is an app that is actually helping me lose a pound a day. When I seriously follow the regimen, a pound a day.
Hey guys, it's Aubrey from Candid Truth. I made an app to help lose fat, stay in shape, and build muscle year-round, while using food to achieve long-term health.
When I follow this regimen perfectly, I lose a pound a day. And it's all about cycling. And this is about your health. It's about losing weight. It's about how to gain better muscle and all that. So check this out.
Hey guys, it's Aubrey from Candid Truth. I made an app to help lose fat, stay in shape, and build muscle year-round, while using food to achieve long-term health and longevity. You can find it at longevity-cycle.com. It will create a personalized calendar of recipes to help you stay on track and take the guesswork out of what to eat and when. It'll teach you the irritants to avoid, to not have chronic inflammation, slowed emptying, bloating, gas, arthritis, fibromyalgia, digestive discomfort, and related issues throughout the body. Check what you have on the shopping list, and it generates the rest for your daily or weekly grocery trip. Get it for $3.99 at longevity-cycle.com.
Do you guys see that awesome food on there? So this is really cool. It's going to help you become healthy. It's called Longevity Cycle because it's going to help you have a long life, longevity. It's going to help you stay fit. Overall, it's going to benefit your life your physical life, your spiritual life, and all that. And we have not even advertised this thing yet. Aubrey built this app, and it's only been shown on our channel like twice ever. And people are starting to buy this thing already. So it's helping people. You guys, if you want to help support this ministry in that way, and support your health, go to longevitycycle.com and get your app today. That'll help you guys out. And we love you. We thank you. We cannot do this without you. If you guys have been supporting this ministry, we see you. We love you. We thank you. We'll see you next time on Candid Truth.
Bye.